Okay, so we're going to start the grade 11 review with a little background about operations, okay, with integers. How can we add, multiply, subtract, and all these fun things with integer. First, we're going to define what is the definition of an integer, okay? What is an integer? Or what are integers? Can you give me an example of integers? 10, 12. Would 5.6 be an integer? No. What's the difference between, let's say, 5.6 and 10 and 12 and all of these? 5.6 is a decimal, while the other ones, what do we call the other ones? Whole numbers, right? So an integer is a whole number. Now, negative 10 is an integer, right? It's a whole number, but it's in the negatives, okay? So an integer, definition of an integer are the set of whole numbers, so no decimal, which include the positive numbers, negative numbers, and the number 0. Okay? So, all the numbers from what we call negative infinity, so that's the smallest number that you can ever have, which is a negative infinity, to the largest positive number, infinity, are called integers. They have to be whole numbers, no decimals. Now, if we're not using a calculator and we're adding two integers, okay? If you're adding integers, if the signs are the same, so that means you're adding two positive integers or you're adding two negative integers, okay? So then the sum will have the same sign or the different sign of what you started with? The same sign. Excellent. So if I have, let's say 5 plus 3, that's going to be 8. It's still the same sign as the 5 and the 3 because they're both positive. But if also I'm adding, let's say, negative 5 plus negative 3, I'm adding two negative integers. My answer is going to be negative 8. I'm still adding the numbers, okay? And the sign is going to be exactly the same. Now, if I'm adding two integers that have different signs, okay? So signs are different. Then the sum will have the sign of the bigger number or the larger number. Give me an example here.
Negative 10 plus 3
Okay.
would equal negative 7.
Negative 10 plus 3 would equal negative 7. Right? I'm subtracting my integers in this case because one is negative and the other one is positive. But at the same time, the answer is going to have the sign of the larger number. If you can't log in, it can be because you don't have an OEN number, so don't worry about it right now. I'll go and talk to the office. Keep this though. Okay? Just don't worry. Yeah. Yeah. Now give me another example where my answer is going to be positive. Give me
4 plus 12.
negative 4 plus 12. What would be your answer for this? 8. It's going to be a positive 8, right? The bigger number is 12. 12 has a positive sign. That means my answer is going to be a positive. When subtracting two integers, add the opposite. What does that mean? It's a weird way to say it, right? So, mm-hmm. Yes. So, give you another example here, okay? Just so you know what I'm saying. So if it says add the opposite, okay? So if I have 3 minus 5, okay? It's the same thing as writing 3 plus negative 5, okay? I am adding the opposite of 5, which is negative 5, okay? Basically, we're making things a little bit more complicated. Why are we doing this? Do I care what's happening? No. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Negative 2, right? Why is it negative 2? Because 5 is greater than 3, right? I have 3, and I'm using 5. So I'm going to be in debt 2, right? So my answer for this is going to be negative 2. Do I really need to write it this way? No, I don't, right? It's making things more complicated. What you have to remember is always, right, if you are subtracting a small number minus the big number, your answer is going to be negative in this case, right? You're on the 3rd level, you're going down 5 levels. You're going to be underground, right? Are we okay with this? Okay. And dividing. When multiplying or dividing integers, if the two integers have the same sign, then the answer is it's going to be positive. Okay? Do you want this booklet just for now? Okay. So there's one right there under the whole bunch. Yeah. Okay? So give me an example. So give me two integers that have the same sign.
-2 multiplied by -4.
Okay, so negative 2 times negative 4. What would be my answer? Positive 8, right? So I have two integers. They have the same sign. So they're both negative. I'm multiplying a negative 2 by a negative 4. It's going to give me a positive 8. How about if I multiply 2 times 4? I'm going to get positive 8 as well, right? So they have the same sign. Both of these are positive. Both of these are negative. I'm going to end up with a positive answer. If the two integers have different or opposite signs, I should say, then the answer is going to be negative. So let's look at so if I have, let's say, negative 3 times 5, my answer is going to be negative 15. Okay? Now if I have, let's say, 12 divided by negative 4, my answer is going to be negative 3. Okay? Positive and a negative, when I divide them or multiply them, is going to give me a negative answer. Okay? The calculator will help you with this, will give you the answer, but at the same time, you have to be aware, because sometimes if you miss a bracket or if you miss whatever, you need to be aware that the calculator is giving you the wrong answer because you have probably put something wrong in there. Okay? So these are like things that you should be kind of like watching for. We're good with that? All right. No.
Sorry, can we go back to the
Yeah, of course. Now, most of the time, we are not going to be performing only one operation, right? We're not going to only be like doing multiplication or just adding or just subtracting. We're going to be performing multiple operation in the same equation, in the same question, okay? And can I go to the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to go down a little bit? So, how many heard of the acronym BEDMAS? Okay. Yeah. How many?
You used to call it odd mass back in the days.
Which is probably the same thing.
Bracket, or division, multiplication, subtract, whatever.
Yes. So it's brackets, exponents, okay, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. Perfect. It's the same thing, right? Some people, they call it something with a P because it's parentheses, right? Parentheses, exponent, division, multiplication, and things like this, right? Just one second. Thank you. All right. So, when we are performing multiple operations, okay, we have to follow the BEDMAS rule, okay? So, with the BEDMAS rule, as we have discussed a little bit earlier, is we have to go brackets, exponent, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. Now you have to remember that with the division and multiplication, it's in the order they appear in. So if multiplication appears before division in your equation, then you have to do the multiplication first, then you do the division. Okay? So for example, if I have 3 times 4 divided by 2, right? I have to perform multiplication first because it appears before the division, then I have to divide by 2. Okay? So,
Sorry, so once the multiplication appears before the division, you have to do the multiplication first.
that's right. Okay? So brackets first, exponents, division, multiplication, the order they appear in, then addition, subtraction. Again, addition, subtraction, you can perform these together. Okay?
Are addition and subtraction also in the order they appear?
Yes, they are, but again, addition and subtraction, you can actually perform them all together at the same time. You don't have to do just, let's do the plus first, and you can do it all together, okay? So for example, if you have a question like that one that you see on top, 3 times 4 divided by 2, you have to do 3 times 4 first, which gives you 12, and then you have to divide by 2, which gives you 6. But if I have, let's say, 4 divided by 2, sorry, I meant writing 2. If you have 4 times 2 divided by 3, it won't divide by 3 in this case. Let's do, it's going to be a fraction if I do that. Let me give you another question. So let's say if you have 4 times, 4 divided by 2 times 3. That's what I meant to write. Okay, then you have to do 4 divided by 2 first, which gives you 2, times 3, which gives you 6. Okay, in this case, it happened to be the same number. It doesn't always work that way. Okay, so when evaluating expressions, you need to follow the order of operation. This is what we call order of operation. Okay, and the acronym used to help us remember the order of operations. Talked about this. It's bed mass. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So I have bracket -7 plus 2, close bracket, multiplied by 4. What would be the first thing I have to do? The bracket. So inside the bracket, right? So I have to simplify inside the bracket, which gives me what? It gives me -5 times 4, which gives me -20. Okay. Okay, the next one, so I have 3 plus 16 divided by 2 squared times 5 minus 4. You see, guys, that I'm just deleting that equal sign at the end because technically I can't write the same thing on the same line. When I'm writing math, there is a process for it and there is a way to write it properly. What I did up here, what I did right here, is an incorrect format. This is technically, I shouldn't be writing this just because I don't have a lot of room to write. Technically, you should start the next sentence with an equal sign at the beginning, right? It's like the capitals of the sentences, right? Starting with an equal sign. Unless you're only giving me right away an answer, then you can do this, okay? But if you're not giving me an answer right away, you should be starting a new line with an equal sign at the beginning, okay? Where do I start here? Where do I start my evaluation? The exponents, right? So you see that I don't have any brackets, so I'm gonna skip the bracket step, okay? I'm gonna have to go to the exponent, so I have to find what 2 squared equals to, right? So I write everything else the same, so 3 plus 16 divided by 4 times 5 minus 4. BEDMAS says after the exponent I have to do my division in this case because division is appearing before the multiplication, okay? So it happens that division is appearing before multiplication, so I divide what by what? 16 divided by 4, which gives me 4, okay? Then multiplication, so I have to multiply the 4 by the 5. That's 3 plus 20 minus 4. And now at this moment, I only have addition and subtraction left, so I can do everything together, right? I don't have to just do 20 plus 3, write it down, and then subtract 4, because then it's a lot of steps. I can skip that step and then say 3 plus 20, that's 23. Take away 4 is 19. Again, if you are not aware of what is happening and then you want to put all of this in the calculator probably will give you the right answer. But at the same time, some calculators, if they're working backward, they will not give you the right answer. Okay? So that's why we should be aware of these things. And I will never tell you you're not allowed to use a calculator. But sometimes you have to show me your work. And this is how you show me your work. For the next one, what would you want to do? Start off with the brackets, right? But what I want you guys to think about think about the numerator, so the top part, as one thing to evaluate, and the denominator as one thing to evaluate by itself. Then you're going to do your division between the two. Okay? So we're going to work with the numerator as one thing, the denominator as one thing, and then we'll do the division. Okay? So in the numerator, what do I do first? Do the brackets. Inside the bracket is already, when they say bracket, they mean inside the brackets. Okay? But inside the bracket is already simplified, right? So I have to do the division. So that's going to be 24. Now, if I divide negative 12 divided by negative 3, what do I get? Positive 4?
Yeah.
Good. Because we learned earlier that if I'm dividing the same sign, I'm going to end up with positive. So that's for my numerator. Let's simplify the denominator. What do I simplify in the denominator? So inside the bracket. So that's going to be negative 4 plus 12. So here I have to work inside the bracket first. Okay? So that's going to be 8. Sorry?
-2, right?
Why?
Sorry.
Okay, minus
I have negative 4 plus 12. Yeah. Okay? Okay, so I have 24 plus 4 in the numerator, which gives me 28. And what do I get in the denominator? Divided by negative 4. And what would be my answer for this? Positive 7? Negative 7. Okay, here's what I tell my students all the time. If the answer is negative, you must say negative in front of it. Because if you ask me right now, what is the temperature outside, and I say it's 15 degrees, you guys are going to run outside with your shorts and then flip-flops. If I say it's negative 15, you're going to wear your jackets. So, negative 15 and positive 15, there's a 30 degrees difference between the two. So the answer is negative 7. Okay? Are we good with this? Bed mass is going to be something that you're not going to get rid of. No matter what strand we are working with, if we're working geometry, trigonometry, we're working with formulas, whatever it is, you're going to have to follow bed mass to solve, okay, or to evaluate. So, I'm not going to go over Pythagorean theorem because that's a lesson by itself. How many of you just remember Pythagorean theorem? Or what it means or what it stands for? Have you heard of it before?
Yeah.
Okay, so the name rings a bell, right? Okay, so here's the thing that you probably want to do for me over the weekend. That's your homework for the weekend, is to look up Pythagorean theorem. When do you use it and what is the formula? Okay?
A squared plus b squared equals c.
You got it. Yes, it is. That's right. And there is a good rap for it too if you guys go online. Okay, so I just want you to I will explain everything to you on Monday, but just so you are not like totally lost, you can look up Pythagorean theorem. You can even look it up right now if you want. Okay?